Almost 2 months ago, on the 14th of October 2018, I finally bought an Xbox 360. Yes, roughly 13 years after this machine came out and 2.5 years after it's been discontinued, I finally got a hold of one for the first time. And let me say this right away, I regret I didn't pick it up sooner. I found it for an incredibly low price. It's a slim model that came with a 250GB hard drive, all the cables including an HDMI and even a controller, which wasn't in the best of shapes. I had to buy a brand new replacement shell for it, but it was, and still is, perfectly working. All of that for what was at the time about $61 US. Yes, it was used and yeah, it could look better, but it's operating flawlessly, and that's what really matters. I opted specifically for the Xbox 360S model. This one doesn't have any of the hardware faults like the original and doesn't look like complete garbage like the E model. I might get a decal skin for it to make it look nicer, but for now I'm fine with it as is. It always lies on my desk like this, and I almost never see any of the signs of wear and tear it's taken over the years. The 250GB hard drive was a very nice bonus. I don't think I'll ever get anywhere near to filling so much space up, but it's great to have nonetheless. Now, why did it take me so long to acquire one of these? Well, that has to do with my history as a gamer, of course. For the sake of brevity, I'll try to explain it as fast as I can, because if I go into detail about every single aspect of it, we'll be here all day. So, I only started gaming around 2010. Video games have had a place in my life pretty much since my childhood, but I actively started taking interest in them only about 8 years ago. I've been playing PC games for a while, and then I discovered emulation, which culminated in me getting my first console, the Nintendo Wii, in 2013. Long story short, at one point in my emulation adventures, I stumbled upon a game I couldn't get to work because of the motion controls, and it upset me so much that I went out and bought an actual console to play it. That game was Disaster Day of Crisis, and hopefully I get to cover it on my channel one day. Now, I enjoyed the Wii quite a lot. It has a fantastic game library as far as I'm concerned, but at the time, I felt like I was missing out on something. There were a lot of games I wanted to play back then, but they weren't on the Wii, they were on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And I didn't know which of them to go for, so I asked the people around me for advice and ultimately decided upon getting a PlayStation 3. I haven't trusted a human being ever since. The PS3 was a massive disappointment for me. I struggled to remember anything good about that system. It was slow as hell, it made me wait for hours while it does its mandatory software installations, and worst of all, the games I wanted to play on it all looked and performed terribly. For someone who had just switched from PC to console, the concept of a gaming system being incapable of doing its job didn't even occur to me. And to add insult to injury, most of its exclusives turned out to be of no interest to me. I consider that PS3 purchase to be one of the worst decisions I've made in life, and not because I hate it or I hate Sony or anything of that kind, but because I acted like a completely oblivious idiot who was just casually throwing his money around. That was in 2014, after the Xbox One and the PS4 hit the market, so even back then, I was already late to the party. Soon after, I kicked the PS3 out of my life, alongside with my trust in humanity, and invested in a Wii U a couple of months prior to the release of Bayonetta 2. For over 4 years, the Wii U was the only system I had in my hands, and contrary to a popular opinion, I think the Wii U was a fine system. I loved it back then, and I still love it now, and I'm not getting rid of it. But it was the same situation as with the Wii. I loved its library, but it wasn't enough. I realized that having just one of the multiple systems on the market is never enough, especially if the one you ended up with is a Nintendo one. Now, Microsoft and Sony's 8th generation offerings always seemed underwhelming to me. Even now, 5 years after they became a thing, I'm only beginning to take genuine interest in them. So all this time, I wanted to go back and get an Xbox 360. The PS3 turned me off so much I got rid of it within 1 year of purchase, which resulted in me never properly exploring what the 7th generation of consoles had to offer. And now, I can finally do that. And while I had quite a fair bit of time to think my PS3 mistake over, I'll spare you the explanation of why it's so difficult to get a decent job these days. So yes, It was only this year that I was finally able to check this wonderful system out. And here I am, in 2018, discovering the Xbox 360 for the first time. This is all quite sentimental to me. To think I could have got this system 4.5 years ago, if only I did my research. Oh, the mistakes of youth. But yeah, I've spent some time with it, and it's been about 2 weeks since I got my 10th game for this console, so I thought it would be a great time to reflect on what I think of the Xbox 360. The system's overall design is pretty good. I like the shape of it, it looks quite nice in both vertical and horizontal positions. There are 3 main things I don't like. The first is the amount of holes it has, and not just for the vents. Both the top and the bottom of it have this corrugated pattern to them. They collect incredible amounts of dust and are a pain to clean. The second is everybody's least favorite addition to this model, the touch buttons. Yes, you can just use the controller to power the system on and off and to open and close the disc tray, but I keep accidentally turning it on and it annoys me. Thank God it only recognizes human touch because my asshole cat walks around my desk like it's her property. Also, why have loud sounds upon pressing these buttons? It's kind of weird. And the last thing is something that hasn't been fixed with any of the revisions of the system, the bloody external disc tray. Who thought this was a good idea? Why not just let the console suck the disc in? It doesn't necessarily ruin anything, but it does somewhat hurt the premium feeling of this device. I don't think I'll ever put my 360 vertically just out of fear the disc falls out of the tray and gets damaged, and that's a huge bummer because this console looks absolutely fabulous when it's placed sideways. Oh well. Oh, and one thing I miss from the original design is the replaceable faceplates. I love the idea of official customization options for consoles. If I had the money at the time, I'd definitely get the original new 3DS, and I'd get some faceplates for my 360 as well if I could, but decal skins it is, I guess. None of these things really bug me all that much though. I found a place for the 360 on my desk and it fits in just fine. Now it's only a matter of actually playing the thing. But first, a few words on the user interface. I find it a little cluttered. It's not confusing or anything, but it's not completely straightforward either. Some of the UI elements don't make much sense to me, like why are there advertisements here alongside my apps? And what's the whole point of games on demand? Why not just have the original Xbox titles in their own category? For a newcomer like me, this is kind of disorienting. As far as the looks go, I prefer the original dashboard. I find it more comprehensible, even if it's structurally very similar. But as it is, I think what we have here is alright. It could have been better, but I'm fine with it. Now, one of the key aspects of gaming on the Xbox 360 is of course the gamer score. People love the idea of achievements. They're now present on almost every single gaming platform on the market, and I don't really get it. It's just a number that denotes the size of your virtual penis. Yes, it's cool to unlock these things, it's cool to earn rewards, but there's not much else to that. The score doesn't do anything, it's just there. If anything, the bigger your gamer score, the more it makes you look like you're bragging about how much money and time you can afford to spend on video games. But I'm not necessarily against this idea. I would have liked it much better if the score served a practical purpose. For instance, the system allows you to create an avatar very much in line with Nintendo's Mii's, but with way more customization options. You can dress them up in outfits, give them accessories, and have them interact with many different objects and even characters from games. But most of that costs actual real-life money. Why not use the gamer score as the currency for these things? It would be a good motivation, some motivation for you to earn more achievements. As it is, I just can't be bothered. I'm certainly not completing any of my games, I simply have no reason to. But let's finally talk about what this system is for, the games. As I said, I currently have 10 of them, so let's go over them very quickly. Here's Lost Odyssey, the first game I bought for the 360. I'm sure you've already heard of it, it's a classic turn-based JRPG from the creator of the Final Fantasy series, Hironobu Sakaguchi. Then we have an excellent character action game, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and Resonance of Fate, an interesting take on the JRPG genre, which I haven't played yet as of this recording, but it looks absolutely smashing. Here's also Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I know it's a controversial opinion, but I love the rebooted Castlevania. Anarchy Reigns is a great, very underrated beat-em up by my favorite studio, Platinum Games. And the last physical game I have here is Tomb Raider Legend. This game is very deserving of that subtitle because this was the first game I saw as a kid that made me go, I wanna play this. This was the game that basically turned me into the avid gamer I am today. This is why I'm here right now making gaming videos on YouTube. Now this is 6, the remaining 4 I have digitally. They are Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, a great isometric puzzle platformer, Saints Row Get Out of Hell, currently the latest game in the series, which I became a fan of with Saints Row 3, Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, it came as a download code with the first game, it's an interesting middle chapter in the Lords of Shadow saga, and my final purchase, for the time being, Alan Wake's American Nightmare, a fun, action-oriented spin-off slash follow-up to Alan Wake. These are my current games. Some of them I haven't finished yet, some of them I haven't even started yet, so for now, it's enough. What else am I looking into getting for the 360? Well, if you glance over my channel very quickly, you'll discover I'm absolutely crazy about Fatal Frame. It's one of my favorite game series, and the Xbox 360 just happens to have emulation level backward compatibility with the original Xbox, and the original Xbox had the enhanced versions of Fatal Frame 1 and 2. I'm not really interested in Fatal Frame 2 here, I have the Wii edition of it, but Fatal Frame 1 on the other hand is a definite must-have for me. It's the only game in the series I haven't played yet, and it's also a better version of that game. Very much like many Xbox ports of that time, it expanded upon the original PS2 release with exclusive content, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's also quite cheap, which is surreal for a Fatal Frame game. Other than that, I also have a fondness for the Fear series. It originated as a fantastically atmospheric blend of horror and action, and wound up somewhere completely different from where it started as the series went on, and the 360 saw 4 releases in this franchise. I plan on getting every single one. I have generally good memories of playing these games, and I'd love to replay them on my Xbox 360. As far as the series I've already mentioned go, I'm very much looking forward to getting Tomb Raider Underworld, which also had 2 exclusive DLCs released for it, Lords of Shadow 2, Saints Row the Third, and Alan Wake. Among the rest, I'd like to also list here Shadows of the Damned, Silent Hill Downpour, Ninja Gaiden 2, El Shaddai Ascension of Metatron, Infinite Undiscovery, and both SSX games. Those all look very interesting and I want them in my collection. And of course I'm not familiar with every single game on the Xbox 360, so as I dig deeper and deeper into its library, I'm sure I'll find loads more great stuff to put on my shelf. Speaking of my shelf though, one gripe I have with the system is that the 360 logo on the spines of game cases seems to vary from title to title. It looks jarring, and as a perfectionist I absolutely hate it. Look at the Wii U spines here, these look fabulous, and this is just bad. Who designed this? You have to be consistent with your branding, right? But anyway, to conclude the game talk, one thing I can't but be astonished by is that as someone who's been playing on Nintendo for half a decade now, I'm amazed at how cheap it is to game on Xbox. I spent about $80 on my 10 games. On Nintendo, I'd be able to buy maybe 3 with that amount of money. The prices on sales are almost like on PC. This is why I haven't got around to every single game in my possession yet. I just have too much stuff to play, and it blows my mind. And this is, I suppose, a good place to address something. The Xbox One backward compatibility. To say I've been following Microsoft on this front would be an understatement. I've been staring intensely at the backcompat scene on Xbox One for several years now. It used to be incredibly exciting for me to learn which new 360 titles were coming to Microsoft's latest system, but at one point I just got tired of waiting for the games I wanted to play on it. Half of the games I've talked about here still, after 3 years of this program, aren't available to us, and I just don't feel like waiting for them anymore, without even knowing if they're ever going to show up on Xbox One in the first place. I felt way more comfortable with this purchase because I knew for certain I could play every single game that's been released for it, at least physically. What if I stumble upon a hidden gem and fall in love with it one day, but it's not backward compatible? That's ultimately why I chose the 360 over the Xbox One, and I think I made a wise decision. And with that, I think it's about time I wrap this up. My overall impression of the Xbox 360 is that even despite its age, it's still a damn great system. I love using it, I love playing on it, and I'm generally blown away by just how much I've missed out on by avoiding it for as long as I have. The sheer amount of games available for it is ridiculous, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of them. So with that, I give this system my arbitrary rating of "is good." And yeah, that's that. Thank you for watching. Now that I have a 360, there's so much more stuff I can cover on my channel, and you bet that content is on its way. So, see you then.